Hello everyone. So I'm gonna make a video and talking about archangels very briefly because I don't know much about archangels. All I know is that I have this new tarot deck. It's called the energy. It's not tarot. Excuse me. It's an oracle deck. It's called the Energy Oracle deck, and I constantly kept repeatedly pulling the Archangel Uriel card, and I knew nothing about Archangel Uriel, and so I just kind of was just like whatever, reading a little message, not really getting it. And let me just say that recently I have been dealing with so much anxiety. So I have a heart condition. I have a medical condition that causes this heart condition, and if I don't keep my pulse at a certain rate, I can go into cardiac arrest. Like, I already have a high pulse because of this condition, so I take medication to slow my heart rate down and make it normal like other people's, and not beat at like 120 beats while I'm resting or laying in bed, things like that. Your heart shouldn't be racing that fast. And so when I get anxious, it gets even faster, and then it's scary because it's like, am I about to fucking have a heart attack? I don't know. But anyway, that's been an issue lately, and I've been going through a lot of stress. I'm so glad that school's over, finals over, I passed. And oh yeah, speaking of that, I just said that in that crystal video that I took finals. Yeah, I passed. And that, work, significant other, family members, all of that, so much drama, so much stress. My heart rate has been up, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I can't live like this. I can't keep living like this. What am I supposed to do? So it's to the point where not only am I like extremely stressed out, but I can't sleep because something's wrong, because my heart rate's up and I'm gonna die if I don't figure this problem out. So I probably take like a 2 or 3 hour nap in the middle of the night, and I'm up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, wide awake, sitting here thinking about what am I gonna do about my life, because it sucks. And it was really starting to worry me because I was drop dead tired but couldn't sleep. And you don't sleep, you don't rest, and you had this condition, it's a no-no. Your heart rate does not improve when you don't sleep and don't rest and things like that. It makes your body increasingly more anxious. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And I tried to see a doctor, and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do for you, because if you take something for anxiety, it's probably gonna lower your heart rate down to hospital low. I'm like, hospital low? What the hell is that? But anyway, so I was like, oh my God, I gotta figure this out on my own. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I've been so anxious, and it's like so unlike myself, because I used to deal with anxiety as a child. I had panic attacks and anxiety attacks as a kid. Like, I flat out blacked out in the middle of the hallway. I couldn't do locker changes. I couldn't do anything with people around me for the most part. I was extremely anxious. And now, as an adult, to feel that coming back, it's like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Especially on this spiritual journey. I never expected to feel old feelings, like not being in control, because that's what anxiety feels like. You're not in control, and it feels like you're spinning out of control. It's really terrible. And anyway, I'm talking a lot about the anxiety. You get the picture. My life I've been a mess for the past few months. And so I was like, what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I keep drawing this card, this Archangel Uriel card. I had a dream, and this woman was like, I don't know, I was shopping for a dress or something like that in the dream, and she was like, instead of looking for a dress, you should be looking for Archangel Uriel. And I was like, well, what kind of dress does he sell? In this dream, it was really funny. And she was just like, what kind of dress does he sell? And she laughs and walks off, and she's like, you better talk to him. And so then I went to listen to a tarot reading online for cancers, because I'm a cancer, and the person drew an Archangel Uriel card, and I was like, oh my God, what does this person want? And so I was just like, okay, fine, Archangel Uriel, I don't even know if he exists. I never really dealt with archangels and stuff like that before. Like, I know guardian angels, not archangels. And so I'm just like, Archangel Uriel, I'm open to whatever it is that you want to show me, whatever it is you want me to know. I am open to it. And so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how it was going to come. I just was just like, okay, he's going to come through because he's been trying to get my attention. Or she, the one, my deck shows him as a female, and then I've seen other people's deck shows as a male, but whatever. He's an angel of knowledge and wisdom. And so I'm at work and I was experiencing anxiety again. And there's one of my coworkers, pharmacist actually, she is pretty young, but it was just weird because I wasn't talking to her about it. I was just kind of pacing back and forth, not even realizing I was pacing back and forth. And she's just like, come here, I have to show you something. And I said, okay. And so I go over and she starts writing something down on the paper. And she writes down the mind, and she writes down ego under it with the arrow pointing under. And this is totally random. I did not say anything to her about it. We don't even work with each other on a regular basis. She works at another location, and I used to work at that location too, so that's how I know her. But it was just outrageous. As soon as she started speaking, I'm just like, oh, this is what he wants me to know. And so I'm listening to her, and she says the mind and the ego are separate. The spirit governs the mind governs the ego. And she was like, but some people, in their own cases, the ego is out to protect you. It seems like the ego wants to protect you from the outer world, and you begin to think that the ego is the mind, and you think the ego is the self. But the ego isn't the self, and the mind isn't the self. The spirit is the self. The spirit is you. You are spirit. And your mind comes with the body territory, and your ego is just something that you create. And she's like, the anxiety that you're experiencing is something you created. So why did you create that? Why? What are you anxious about? Why do you feel the need to be anxious? Why are you awake at night? Why can't you sleep? Why are you thinking so much? Why are you worried? And she kept going on and on and on. And she was like, the problem with the ego is it does help you. The ego thinks survival, survival, survival. You will get to the point where you are surviving and fine, and the ego does not stop there. And that's what she said. That made total sense to me. Here I am, I'm fine. I make decent money, I have shelter, I have food, I have clothing, I have everything that I need. And the ego says, no, you don't. You can't sleep. You don't have this, that, and the other. You're anxious, and you're going to die, and your heart's rate up, and this condition is killing you, and you're just not going to make it. And the funny thing she said is the ego seeks to kill you. That's all it seeks to do from the beginning. It might come off as being protective, and you know how, like, for example, I'm a Cancer, and Cancers are considered to be hard on the outside and soft on the inside. She's like, it may appear like a hard exterior protective thing, but the ego is not like that. It will eat you alive, literally. It seeks to take over the mind and take over the spirit. So you have people walking around in this world who are primarily dominated by their own egos and their own wants, their own desires and things like that, and not the desire of spirit. Not which, when I say the desire of spirit, the desire of the spirit is to come here and fulfill your purpose, whatever purpose you have for coming to this planet. That is the desire of the spirit. And when we get caught up in ego, it deters us from that, and you become less than what you're meant to be. and you don't accomplish the things that you're meant to accomplish here on this planet. And so as she continued to break it down, scenario by scenario about what the ego is doing to me, and she's like, eventually, if your ego consistently tells you, be worried, be worried, be worried, and your pulse rate goes up, it's mind over matter. Even if you're taking the medication to lower it, there's going to come to a point where it will not, your body will no longer respond because your ego takes over it. All it does is seek to kill you, to destroy you. And as she was describing this, it made me realize something, like, well, not that I hadn't thought of it before, like what devil, you know what I mean? What evil, when really we create those things too. We create the devil. The devil is the ego. It does seek to harm and destroy and do bad things to us, but sometimes we justify it being in our lives. And God is a spirit, which is, the higher self, constantly guiding us and trying to push us into the right direction. And as she said, spirit is truth. Your spirit self is your true self, and it does not fight the ego. It just stands firm. It does not need to be explained. It doesn't need to justify its reason for being. The ego will constantly try to justify its reason for being. You need to be a hard ass because people are going to hurt you. Well, why are people going to hurt you? Because that's what people do. So we're going to be a hard ass. Like the ego will constantly say, you better hurt them before they hurt you. You better not let that person into your life because they don't want anything good from you. Don't accept love from this person. Don't accept this person's kindness, or take their kindness, or take whatever they're giving you, but don't give them anything back. This is the ego. It's greed. It's lust. It's all of the negative things in life that we, those of us on the spiritual journey try to stray away from. That is what the ego is. And as she said this, it's like I felt like all of these chains just breaking all around me. Like in the spirit world, I just felt like everything was just crumbling. Here I am about to be overtaken by my freaking ego, something that I created. Why am I anxious? What am I truly worried about? Like, as she said, the way you break it down is to challenge the ego. Don't let it go unchallenged. If you're going to fight it, if you're going to make it, because once you do that, that is what ascension is. Essentially, in her words, ascension is, or enlightenment, that's the words that she used. Enlightenment is those who have conquered the ego. And she's like, and the way to conquer the ego is to challenge it. So when the ego says, I need to pay this bill. Well, why do you need to pay this bill? Because people want the money. Why do they want the money? Because I use the service. What'd you use the service for? I was sick. And so on and so on. So we have to pay. We have the money. That's fine. And the ego will say, no, it's not fine. We need money for this. Well, why do we need money for that? You need to constantly go back and forth with that ego until the ego can no longer until you keep asking the ego, what does it want that for? Why are you anxious? Why are you angry? Why are we not forgiving this person? Why are we holding a grudge? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Continue to question the ego until you break it down, until it can no longer justify its existence. And when she said that, I was just like, almost felt like I was going to cry, but we were at work, so I was like, don't cry. There's my ego again. But like, don't cry in front of people. But she recognized like how much gratitude I had on my face. I'm 100% positive. Like, she ended up we ended up talking for like a whole other hour after work and everything, and spending time talking about that. And she was like, those things that are bothering you in your mind, you have to understand that you created them. They're in your mind. It's in your world. There's nothing on the outside, not your job, not people. There's none of that even exists. It's all in your mind. Those things are not making you anxious. You are making you anxious. Those things aren't irritating you. You are irritating you. And when she said that, like, everything makes sense. And I have been living like, and I can't say an enlightened human being, I'm not 100% there, but like a different human being. Like I just feel very, very different, very understanding. And so I'm making this video for other people who are going through something similar, or didn't notice that they were going through something similar. That is my message from Archangel Uriel, and I just want to say thank you, and I'm sharing it, and it meant a lot to me. And thank you for trying to get my attention for a long time, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, for those of you that want knowledge, Archangel Uriel is the truth.